special connection with Smith Station and the residents, as you mentioned. This is always a pleasure as well. Sergeant Major Sanchez and I, we are your garrison command team. We have responsibilities to soldiers and families on post, but we also have responsibility to the citizens and our municipalities. So I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about the formal and official transition, rebranding, if you will, of Fort Benning to Fort Moore. And I'd like to talk about it a little bit. I have some prepared remarks, but I think it's best to start off with a video. This is a video that our public affairs team has put out, and it's specifically kind of an intro video to start to welcome and educate folks on the Moore family. So video is about 2 minutes or so, if we could go ahead and play that.
Yeah, General Moore was a great leader. He was right there on the ground with us.
But she saw other people whose husbands were killed, and she knew her job was to take care of families.
I knew we'd prevail. I knew we were going to in for a hell of a fight, but never once did it cross my mind that we'd go down. Not one time.
If you're a widow, you've got so much on your plate because of what she did. I don't have to worry about that. That's a huge blessing.
You knew he was in command, and you knew he knew what was going on. He just was a soldier's soldier, and you just felt comfortable around him.
They are the married relationship that any married couple wants. It was defined by a deep, committed love. When you step back, it's a love story. It's a love story about their love and commitment to soldiering and the nation.
Today and discuss really that we're approaching this unique and historic opportunity, right? What an amazing opportunity we've been given to rename our installation in honor of Lieutenant General Hal and Julie Moore for their meaningful and lasting contributions to our Army and this nation. I want to share a little bit about some of the processes where we've come from, where we're going to. So obviously we value you all as community partners and neighbors. We want to make sure that you understand the implications and the process that we're moving forward with. So in accordance with the 2021 National Defense Authorization Act, Congress mandated that 9 Army bases across country were renamed, and the requirements are to be renamed no later than 1 January 2024. So we're in the process of getting a number of those dates approved. Most importantly for this forum is that as of last week, in conversations with senior leaders in the Pentagon, we were approved for Thursday, 11 May 2023. So not all of the bases have received their date for approval yet, but ours will be Thursday, 11 May. I want to talk a little bit about some of the actions that we're taking on post. So we've completed our internal review of physical and operational assets, our buildings and roads and those kind of things. We have a full database of anything that references the Benning name. I want to let you know and let the citizens of Smith Station know that this process is being implemented with great care. And our stakeholders and community partners, we want to make sure that they're informed throughout this process. We recognize the spirit and the service of the Moore family represents and remains, our #1 priority remains training and producing soldiers for the armed forces at the highest level, and remains our #1 priority throughout this process. Working together with great community partners like yourselves, we're grateful for your support throughout this process, and we look forward to continue to expanding our partnership throughout the renaming, the details of that. So some of you may be familiar with Lieutenant General Hal and Julia Moore. So for some of you, this may be a reintroduction, or for some of us, it may be an introduction to this family. Hal Moore was a veteran of Korea and Vietnam. His wife was a lifelong volunteer for the American Red Cross. Julia Moore was instrumental in improving some of the casualty notification processes. If you've seen the movie, and I'll talk about this a little bit, there was the young woman on the video was a Gold Star spouse that had lost her husband, and talked about the implications of the actions Julie Moore had done to streamline some of the processes from a casualty notification standpoint. And many of you have seen the movie or read the book, I'm sure. And I'll tell you that on post right now, and a number of our colleagues, you know, it's something that I would encourage you to go watch it again, because I think refreshing that, I watched it again about a month and a half or 2 months ago, and I watch it with fresh eyes now that I understand that we really are honoring the post for this great American family and this great Army family. And we're really so lucky, right? Husband and wife team, parents to 5 children, some of them, Mr. David Moore, that just lives in Auburn right now. We're expecting a large turnout of the family for the 11 May ceremony. And we're so lucky because of those 9 installations that are renaming, we're the only one that's named for a husband and wife. So we think that that's really extra special that we're being able to connect ourselves with this. And the Moores, their lives are woven into the fabric of this installation and the community. As many of you know, that they're both buried in Fort Benning Cemetery. So what an amazing kind of final place for them to be buried at the installation that we named for them. Lieutenant General Moore wanted to be buried with his troopers, and I think that speaks volumes about his service and sacrifice, and the sacrifice of both Hal and Julie Moore. They exemplify the very essence of what it means to be an Army family. I couldn't think of a better role model to inspire our next generation of men and women that volunteer for service, come through Fort Benning for their training. Really inspirational to be able to connect to the character and commitment of the Moore family as they train themselves for the crucible of combat and ultimately to emerge victorious. Now we carry the legacy of victory forward, which will be perfectly embodied by the Moore family. Some of the finest Americans this country has ever produced, in my opinion. We view the naming of this next chapter in our story as an amazing opportunity to align ourselves with this great family. We'd like to thank the council here this evening and the City of Smith Station for their continued support and being a steadfast and reliable community partner. We couldn't perform our mission on post without support of our families and the larger community. And Sergeant Major Sanchez and I are honored to be here this evening to share these comments with you again today. So some of our initial invites have gone out right now. From a ceremony standpoint, it'll likely be tucked in the mornings. We all know how hot it gets in May. And right now the ceremony is planned. We're still working through the final details, but it's planned to occur on post, likely at a place called Doughboy Stadium, which some of you have seen, a very, very iconic place on post. And coincidentally, the very place that General Moore gave a speech to his battalion prior to going to Vietnam, the Ai Drang Valley in 1965. So iconic and historical location, and we're going to hope for blue skies that day, and we're trying to replicate a very similar piece in that event. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all this evening. And I know we've passed out a few pamphlets there to give you a little bit more information. This is really about I'd ask you all to be advocates for educating folks about the great Moore family and their legacy that they're leaving. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, Sergeant Major Sanchez and I are happy to answer those.
First of all, I know you said you like us to be advocates, but what else could we do to help you?
Well, I think first and foremost, right now, I think in the short term, sir, I think you can help us spread the word about the history that is associated with this. Right, this is a tremendous opportunity to align with this, and I think, as I mentioned before, not everyone may be introduced to Hal and Julie Moore, and I think it's conversations that you could have to say, hey, do you know who the Moore family is? And if you don't, it just takes a few minutes. We give out some pamphlets, and I'll leave some for you. I think that I would ask that if there's any way that you can help us spread the word, we have some public affairs products as well that you can share on your sites and send to some of your leaders to have those conversations. And then secondly, I know that some of the invitations have gone out, but obviously there'll be an invitation for you all to attend the event on 11 May, and supporting that as well. We think would be very special. We're going to have a large turnout, and it really is a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to do this and realign. And we're so proud to be doing it. I'm personally proud because Sergeant Major and I are going to be the last command team for Fort Benning Garrison, and we'll be the first command team for Fort Moore. So what an amazing opportunity and a paramount event in our lives, not only from a military perspective, but also to be here and witness this. I think it's going to be a great day. So those would be the two things I would say, sir.
What from a professional perspective, as leadership, should we start now using Fort Moore, or you want to use Fort Benning?
No, sir. What we've asked and the guidance that we've put out is, you know, it won't be Fort Moore until the day of the ceremony. So there'll be likely some things from an on-post perspective, right? The ceremony will occur sometime in the morning, 9 or 9:30. So at about 1000 hours, we're going to ask folks to, you know, change their email signature blocks, do those kind of things, right? And that day will be the day. But we would ask that you don't refer to it as Fort Moore until after the ceremony, right? We are not. Fort Benning is it's going to be Fort Benning, and products will still be produced as such up until then. And then that day, that's when there'll be a number of social media. The URLs will change. There'll be kind of that adjustment the day of. So we're asking for all those things to happen on 11 May.
This is just a curiosity from the mayor's perspective. What is the cost of this to the base, the renaming?
Well, I'm glad you asked, sir. I'll tell you that it's extensive. I'm not prepared to discuss the dollar amount, but I will tell you that there are pieces. We have done an exhaustive search, and I'm learning about all kinds of things I never thought about. For example, I'll give you one. This is an example I give a lot. We have a charter fishing boat in the water in Destin Army Rec Center. That's down in Destin, Florida. That is an Army Recreation Center, a regional hub. But we have responsibilities for it. It has a charter boat in the water. The name of that charter boat is Fort Benning Stars and Stripes, for example. So there's going to be a rewrapping of a charter boat that's associated with this transition, right? Because it's at the Army Rec Center that belongs to Fort Benning. So although an ancillary example, it does show that the name is in many places. I will tell you that other than just stationery, those kind of things, we do have a lot of mementos around posts that do say Fort Benning, and it's a pretty extensive change. So my public works section is at work in fabrication and ordering materials and whatnot to make those changes so that signs can go down and then back up on the day of the ceremony, so we'll be able to honor the orders during that time.
You got a big hill to climb.
Well, I mean, like green transportation, I mean, you know, many of your soldiers go on green transportation, and on the side of their van it says Fort Benning. How will the community though? So the post, of course, would be Fort Moore, but I guess all of that becomes Fort Moore. I mean, no longer.
Well, this is a great question. Obviously, none of our funds can pay for anything outside the post, and this has come up a lot, right? Especially the 185 overpass, right? For example, it says Fort Benning. That was a private donation and whatnot, right? So we have reached out to municipalities, both Alabama Department of Transportation and Georgia Department of Transportation, and we've asked them for their support, but we don't have funds available to pay for those things. So a lot of it, because we didn't have the date, a lot of these costs haven't been properly forecasted into the budgets. So we are going to make as many changes on the day that we can, and then we're going to continue to work towards having them all kind of closed out soon after.
Any other questions for Colonel?
Yes, ma'am.
Do y'all have plans to show the soldiers at the end?
So there's been some discussions right now about that, and right now we're still coordinating the exact events that occur before and after the ceremony. And there has been some discussions about incorporating some of those events into the NIM. It's just not formalized. It's just not formalized right now. So, and the NIM is, I just want to be clear that the NIM is off post, and it is a private organization. So again, we don't have direct authority over the NIM. We work with them on a lot of things. The collection of artifacts inside the NIM belongs to the government, belongs to the Army, but they are a private organization. So they may have plans to show it, and I'm not 100% sure. I met with them a few times, but we're still talking about exactly how we want to choreograph this event.
I just got to ask,
Please.
does the Moore family, are there any living descendants? And the second question, I guess, is Mel Gibson, you know, if he's possibly going to be an attendee. I just have to ask that.
So what I know for sure is Major General Buzzard and I have had the chance. We've been invited to the Moore family twice, Moore family's home twice in Auburn, and I've met 4 of the 5 children. All 5 children are still living. I believe at least 4 of them will be and are planning to be in attendance for the ceremony in May. And I think there's going to be a number of extended family that's going to be there as well. I don't have an exact number, but the Moore family will absolutely be in attendance for the ceremony. Mr. David Moore, who is the youngest son, recently did a press conference with us, and he is generally speaking, he has been the kind of the spokesperson for the family up to this point. We contact him frequently. I talked to him via text earlier today. So we're absolutely coordinating with them about all these details. And you can see, for example, the photo in the piece there. That's the official photo that was used for the naming commission. We think it's really important as well. But we're also keeping in touch with the family because there's a number of artifacts that we want to have on display and those kind of things. And the second portion you asked about is an interesting story about Mel Gibson. I do know, and the family has relayed to us, that during the filming and afterward, that Mel Gibson became fairly close with General Moore, and they exchanged cards and emails and texts and phone calls for a number of years after that. I can't confirm his attendance at this point, but there has been some discussions about him potentially providing a video monologue, if you will, and then potentially either incorporating that in or at a minimum providing that to the family privately.
Well, we can't take a formal vote, but I'm asking everyone to support. Everybody in favor?
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll certainly support you, sir.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity. And again, it's a pleasure for us to come out here and spend some time with you this evening.
We'll conclude very shortly, so we're going to hang out for a few minutes. Any council member reports? All right. I'd like to recognize CTVB and Montavious Walton for being here. At this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.